Hello, Stampers. My name is Linda Bedinger, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a very fun card for you today. It's a fun fold, a little bit different. It's a variation on the, what do they call them? The double point card, only mine only has 1 point. And this is my buddy Puccini, who's been helping me all afternoon in my craft room by sitting right in the middle of my work and generally being a pain. And it looks like he's ready to go for a while. That's good. And so this card is just a lot of fun, and I think you're going to like it. Let's just get started. Here is my card, and it has a message down here, smile. This piece flips up and says cherished friend, and then this can tuck right back in here to hold that closed. And on the inside it says love is what makes us family. Now I'm changing it up just a little bit. I am still using a base of Orchid Oasis that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then I've used some Petal Pink, and this is cut 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have a piece that is 3 3/4 by 5 that is going to go on the top of the card. For the inside, we have a piece of basic white that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then we have some DSP. And this DSP is Fancy Flora, 6 by 6 designer series paper. It's on page 16 in your catalog, and it's part of the Fancy Flora suite. And gosh, I just love this paper. The more I work with it, the better I like it. And so I am using this paper, and to create this piece, let me show you a larger piece of that paper that I am using. It is this paper, and I thought it lent itself to the point the way this particular piece of paper comes down. Now, a lot of the cards that you see have a very short piece that comes to here, and then a short piece that comes up to here, and then they put a message on one end or the other, and it flips open. And it just doesn't seem right to me to be sort of short and stubby little point. I wanted an elongated point that had some real style to it. So I cut my piece here off of this paper, and I cut it from here so I would capture most of the point. And it's good because you can use one of these pieces of paper to do just about everything you need to do on your card. I cut this piece, this one I cut 4 by 4 inches square. This one I cut 4 1/2 inches square because I decided that I might like to have this piece, instead of just going behind the white, go all the way up and go behind the pink. And so in order to do this, this piece needs to be cut at 4 1/2 inches, and you can pick your spot, or you can use a different piece of designer series paper. You could really make one out of this, and it wouldn't matter where you cut it from. But you need to cut it 4 inches if you want it to come from behind the white, and 4 1/2 if you want it to come behind the layer behind that. And that layer might be determined by the paper that you pick. Okay, so this one is cut right from the center here, 4 1/2, and half of 4 1/2 is 2 1/4. So I put my piece of paper, let me grab my trimmer so I can show you here. I have to, well, I guess I could just cut another one. I'm going to make these for my swaps anyway. So what I did was I cut, this is 6 inches. So I cut 1 inch off of one end, and then I turned this over so that I could get 4 1/4, and I cut whatever was left off of this end. Now that gives you this piece. And so 4.5 by 4.5 is this long. All right, then we have to take this piece and we have to score it at 1/2 inch. I guess we need to score it on the other side at 1/2 inch. And then we can fold this back. But before we do that, we're going to go from this corner down to 2 1/4, because that is the center of the bottom. So I'm going to put this point at 2 1/4, which is this line right here. And then I'm going to cut that, go all the way up to that corner. So 2 1/4 to the opposite corner. And I'm going to slice that off. Now, all you have to do for this one is to go from that point to the opposite corner. So there we go. Now I've got my piece that's this big, and I've already scored it at 1/2 inch, and we'll just fold that, and then we'll show you how that works on the card. Now meanwhile, at the bottom here, I have a piece of this designer series paper that is about 1 inch. So if I set this at maybe 1 tick under 1 inch, I'm going to get a strip of paper that's that big, and that can be this piece that's down here on the bottom. And then I can use this piece, or I can cut a piece from this other piece that's left here for the little decoration that I'm using. I didn't put it in here, but there's another, here I'll show you. There's another decoration, and I did this, I think, at 5/8 of an inch. So let's cut 5/8 of an inch off of this little piece of paper here. That's 5/8 of an inch, and then you can decide which end or the other you want to put across the bottom of your paper to give you some decoration on the inside. And I might choose this one just because it's got a little bit more of the flower on it. And that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 on the inside. So I just need to slice that one off. And there I've got my piece for the front, I've got my piece for the inside, and I've got my piece for this. And so it can easily make the cards that I need to, one out of each piece of paper that's in there. As you can see, I've got a helper again. All right, so we have, I'm going to have to move him along. So I've got, I think I told you the measurements on all of these pieces. Now we have these pieces cut, and I think we're just all ready to go here to put this together. Now, the one thing I did on the one that I'm going to do now is I'm very enamored with this die that has this leafy pattern on it. And so I did an experiment. On this one, I just used splatters from my blend to give it a little bit of texture. And I thought on this one, what I might do is go ahead and put this pattern on. And this is what I got. This is 3 3/4 by 5. And I stamped this and then ran this over the top. And then I thought, I wonder what would happen if I did this over the top, because one side is pretty smooth and the other side is a little bit rough. So on this piece, which is my sentiment, which I already done, I stamped that after I put this background on it. So you really could stamp this. Now you might want to put it in the Stamparatus so that you get two opportunities to get this nice and crisp, but I don't think there's any difference between the way those two stamped. This I stamped first and then ran this die across it. This one I ran the die and then stamped on it. So it is possible to do it that way. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to exchange this one for this one since I've already done this, and I'm going to add some seal to the back of this. And put that in place on my card. Because on this one, you'll remember we're putting the DSP behind the pink. So the next thing I'm going to do is add some seal. Let me get my silicone mat here so I don't make a big mess. And add some seal right along this piece here. Then I'm going to fold that over a bit and center that. Grab the wrong piece. So I'm going to add some seal along the edge of this, and I'm going to center this on my piece of pink right here so that it goes easily from corner to corner. And then I'm going to use my snips to trim that edge off. And there we have our beautiful piece coming down the middle of that. And I kind of like this stuff on the back side of it. I got a little glue where I shouldn't have. Did that on my card instead of on my silicone mat. If you don't have a silicone mat, you really ought to get one. They're just amazing for keeping your workspace clear and clean. Okay, so there we go. That is all ready to go, and it is stamped. Now we have this piece, which we are going to add across the bottom here. And I think I'm going to go, once again, since this one going from the pink, I think I'm going to have this one go all the way across the pink. So I'm going to add some seal to the back of this. And I'm going to put this in place so I get the most pattern I can on here and have it go all the way across the card, just like that. And then I'll trim this little piece off so we have absolutely perfect fit. And there we go. Now then, I have my sentiment, and what I used for the sentiment is I used our stitched rectangle dies, and I used this little die here, and that's what I did. I made this one smile, and so this one I wanted to change up, so I made it Happy Birthday. So I have my little piece of Happy Birthday, and I'll show you exactly what I mean when I say that that stamps pretty easily. Here is a piece that I practiced on. So I'm going to grab my Happy Birthday and my Orchid Oasis ink, and I'm going to stamp my Happy Birthday right here on this card so that I could put my die around it and cut it out. Now I'm going to make sure this is really inked up and put my Happy Birthday down, hold it for a second, and let that ink sink in, and there we go. I've got a perfect Happy Birthday. Now all I have to do is put my die around it and cut it out. Now this piece ends up cutting out at 1 1/4 by a little bit under 2 3/4. And so what I did was I put this on my trimmer and lined it up the way I wanted to, and just snipped it off so that it cut just exactly enough to give this just a little bit of a border around it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of seal. I've got paper everywhere here. I'm going to add a little seal to the back of this and get that mounted on this piece of Orchid Oasis. There we go. And then I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals to the bottom of this. Like that. Now, this point can live behind here, and I've got the front of my card pretty well done. Now this I'm going to just encourage to bow in a little bit so that when this closes, it maybe a little bit more, because it's bowing outwards and I don't want it to do that. There we go. And you can use your bone folder to encourage this little edge down here so this lays a little bit flatter. And over time that will just do that. Okay, so there we go. And so now I've got texture on my white, so I'm not going to do the splatters, but I really like the way this looks, and I like it coming to the top better. I'm going to add some seal to the back of this and put this part of my card together. So as you may know, during my last video, I announced that what I'm doing is on some of these, now I know not everybody has all of the supplies, so this is one that I can do a kit on. So I will have kits up on my blog for this one that will go up at the same time as my video goes up. And my kits are $10, and it is 2 of these, everything you need to make 2 of this particular card. And I make like, oh, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8, just depends, extra kits, and put them up on the blog, and when they're gone, they're gone. But if you don't have all of these supplies and want to make this card, you can just order the kit and you'll get everything that you need to do it. Okay, so here is my piece of 4 by 5 1/4 in the white, which I'm going to put on here. Now you may want to stamp yours before you put it in place. But I'm okay with doing it this way. So I'm going to bring my ink back, and the rest of this sentiment works really well for this card. This one, I think this would make a lovely Mother's Day card too, where you could say Happy Mother's Day down here and sent with love, and then something on the inside is love is what makes us family. I think that would work just fine. I just love this sentiment. And I'm not going to try and stamp this straight. I'm going to put it at an angle on purpose. On the inside, takes the pressure off for those of you at home that don't want to necessarily have to figure out straight. Although I will say that if you happen to have one of these T rulers, you can set this across here and make a faint line that you know will be straight, and then stamp right against that line. It makes it pretty easy to figure out straight. Okay, so that is that. Now we have a little piece of paper for the inside of this, which we cut, and here it is. And I'm just going to put a little bit of seal on that and add that to the bottom, or maybe I'll just use my Tombow because it's right here and pretty easy to do. All right, so right along here, on the bottom. And there you have the inside all decorated. It looks like it needs a little something, doesn't it? I think, well, one of the things I might do on the next one I make is go ahead and use that die, stitched greenery die. Would be kind of a fun thing to do, to maybe put along the bottom or the top and do your stamping over that. And it would give this inside a little bit more of a lift. All right, now on the outside of this, I just used some of our iridescent pearls, and I used Orchid Oasis, my blend, because if you just go over those, you can color these pearls to be any color you want, and then they match your card perfectly. That's what I love about this blend business. And so I've put 5 of them and colored them, and then I'll use my take your pick tool here and pick those up. They dry almost immediately, and pick those up. I'm going to put one here on the happy birthday. I'm going to put one over here. I'm going to tuck one in the corner here, one down here, and then maybe one more right down here. And there is our card. That is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. There's a heck of a deal right now through the end of February to join Stampin' Up! It's $175 worth of product for $99, and if you spend another $30, so $129, you also get the mini cut and emboss machine in the boho blue, which is a new color, or the white, your choice. But you can do it either way, with just the material, or you can do it with the mini cut and emboss machine. I don't think I've ever seen them offer $175 for $99. That's an exceptional discount. It's almost twice what you're getting, almost twice what you're paying for. So it's 175% basically. Celebration continues on through the end of February, and that's how long the join offer lasts. This kit will be available on the day I post, which I think is Tuesday, and that would be the 21st. So we really only have 7 more days left in February, either to join or to get some free stuff through Celebration. There's always a $60 prize draw from me, and all you have to do to put yourself in the drawing is to place an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net. You can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. That's it for me, and I will be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!